And when the house started shaking like that right there, they would bring us back downstairs. They took us upstairs. When the house started shaking, it was making so much racket, they'd bring us down. And I remember, you know, when they started praying the rosary a lot, you know, I mean, they were praying to Jesus, you know, to try to keep us from, you know, getting there. Yeah.
Hello everyone, this is Charles McNeely for DevDoc Theater, and I am honored and it's a privilege to be here in this home of Jeffery Boudreaux, an Audrey survivor. I'm here to talk to him about his experience and everything else about Cameron Parish. That if you've seen the other videos that we've done, you understand the people of Cameron, very special people, very strong and resilient. And so we continue our look at who we are in South Louisiana and Hurricane Audrey. So Jeffery, great to meet you, great to be here, and thank you for inviting me into your home.
Thank you for coming.
Well, like I said, it's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure. So when we're talking about Hurricane Audrey, to begin, could you give us an idea? First off, how old were you for that hurricane?
I was born in '53, and in '57 I was like 4. You know, I was 4 years old, and I remember because you know, it was so tragic. You know, I guess, you know, and I remember good. You know, that when Audrey hit. You know,
so many of those memories, even at the age of 4. Are just imprinted, and so yeah, and I'm going to ask you a question about that later. But so 4 years old, June 27th, 1957. Can you give us an idea of your family? How many brothers and sisters? Who your parents?
I had my parents were Ina and Orrin Boudreaux.
Orrin, is it O-R-I-N?
E-N.
E-N, okay.
We was from Creole. We're from Creole. And my grandpa was Ferdinand Boudreaux, and my grandma was Bessie. She was a Broussard, but she was Bessie Boudreaux.
Gotcha.
And we had a big family, and all my aunts and uncles, and you know, they had 8 of them. 6 of them. My grandpa had 8 brothers and sisters.
Goodness.
You know,
Okay.
they had a big family. But
Big family.
Mom and Daddy, you know, and then I had my brother and my sister, and the 2 brothers and a sister, and.
What were your brothers and sisters?
Sheila, she's the girl,
Okay.
and she's 2 years older than I am.
All right, so she was about 6.
Yeah, she was about 6, and James, my brother, was like, he's 11 months younger than I am.
Wow. Okay.
We're
so
close.
he was about 3.
Yeah. So I remember, you know, because we was all.
What was his name?
James.
James.
James
Okay.
Orrin Boudreaux.
Gotcha.
And well, James, we was all at Uncle Bayan's, so we under there, you know, like at the end of Chenier Perdue, you know. So
Chenier Perdue, or Little Chenier.
well, they call it Chenier Perdue, you know, Lost Oak, you know.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
okay.
That's the English name part, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And well, you know, I talk French, you know, but I don't talk French, you know, like we used to, you know. I mean, my grandpa and them, we had to learn French.
Okay. You had to learn French or English?
We had to learn English at the first.
So you learned French first?
Well,
right?
French. Well, we was French when we was younger. You know, we talked French and English, but
Yes.
we, you know, we wasn't as educated in French. I mean, as we was. The teachers, you know, didn't want us to talk French, you know, so we had to, you know, it was mostly English, you know.
Yes.
But,
well, all right, yeah. So, and your other brother's name, you had James, Sheila, your sister, and who else?
Robert Dale.
Robert Dale. How?
Robert Dale is he was about he's about 7 years older than us. 6
Okay, so he was around 11, I guess, at that time. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so 3 boys, 1 girl, and so y'all lived.
We lived in Creole. That's where we stayed at. We stayed in Creole, and when the hurricane hit, Daddy took us to Uncle Bayan's over yonder there. That then she heard there.
Okay. Now, when you say your dad took you, that was right before the hurricane hit, right?
Right before the hurricane.
What can you tell us a little bit about what life was like before the hurricane? What do you remember? I know you weren't in school or anything. Your brother was, but
I remember, being at home over yonder there. We had a 2-bedroom house.
Nice. Okay.
In the East Creole, and my grandpa and them stayed there. They had a big house, and then my aunt Faye, she married a Bertrand, Billy Bertrand, Uncle Billy there.
Got you.
And then Annette and Nunu is my uncle and aunt.
Oh my goodness.
So
on your mother's or dad's side?
On daddy's side. Yeah.
Okay.
That was my daddy's sister.
Got you. Okay.
And they lived the next house, and then the next house was my aunt Bia and Uncle Toto.
So it was pretty much all along the street. It was family.
Everybody can on just about the corners, the Terrios, the Richards, the Boudreaux.
You were all lined up right there in Creole.
We all, all the way to Creole. Everybody just about either married into the family or
they're in some way related to that. Great names, though. All those names, those last names I've heard.
If they wasn't kin to us, they were real close to us.
Gotcha. Okay. So as you were saying, when the time came for Audrey, you remember your dad taking you to your uncle, who is it? Vaillan's, okay. And how many people were in the house with you?
That house had a lot of people in it. They must have had, I would say, 20 people, I guess.
Goodness, okay. In one house, and maybe a 2 or 3 bedroom house.
It's an old house. The steps was on the porch.
Got you, okay.
When you walk up
I've seen a picture.
Gerald inherited that house. When Uncle Bayan and them died, they left it. So he inherited that house, and Gerald had the house until I think hurricane. I'm not sure
if it was
Rita or the other hurricane that got it. We've been so.
I know. Yeah. So okay, but it was at Uncle Vaillan's. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Uncle Vaillan's house.
And they had a piece in the house where it had cement down there at the bottom of there where the fireplace come up. They said that's what held the house, And when the house started shaking like that right there, they would bring us back downstairs. They had took us upstairs. When the house started shaking, it was making so much racket, they'd bring us down. And I remember, when they started praying the rosary a lot, they were praying to Jesus, to try to keep us from getting.
Yeah. Was that in the attic and downstairs? Both of the rosary was prayed?
Well, it was prayed on the stairs, I remember, but they were praying upstairs too. But they were mostly on the stairs. I heard they'd say "Shad Bon Dieu," they'd say that in French, good Lord, So that was some scary times, that's what I remember a lot of that right there,
Okay, and I know I got your name from Peggy Bonsall. Was she there also in that house?
Peggy wasn't there, but Peggy, when I was a kid, they used to carry me. I remember Peggy.
Yes.
She said her back hurt. I said, I know why.
Yes. She made a comment about that in her video about carrying you, and her hips were, she says that her hips today, the pain is because of how much she carried you. So
I love Peggy. She was good to us.
But so your dad got y'all to Uncle, say his name again. Vaillan's, okay. And there were about 20 people, let's say.
Annette told me that John Paul Crane from Grand Chenier come up there and met us to be under there. I don't remember John Paul because I was little, but Annette had told me that a while back. I was talking to her. She said John Paul had come up there, I guess, to see if we was all right and everything, because they was all close to my family. John Paul, Mr. Sunno was my grandpa, Sunno Crane.
Crane, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's my grandma's cousin. I believe they named Albert Crane, the son, after Albert Terrier. His name was Albert Terrier.
Okay.
So that was my grandma's great grandpa. That was my grandma. It was a grandpa. Okay. So
Jean-Paul came and checked on y'all. Was that before, during, or after the storm?
After that.
Okay.
I worked for Crane Brothers for 35 years.
Oh my goodness.
So
it's a great company. I know. I've heard great things about them. Definitely.
They made me what I am, because I worked for them, and then they're a big family,
Yeah. I noticed that a lot about many things about Cameron Parish. The Crane brothers, but also the Crane company, but so many are talking about how much it was a big family down there, and that's just something that I think is very powerful and quite nice to celebrate. So
John Paul and the Cranes, they were good to us, and they were all good to us,
Well, going back to Audrey, you said that your dad took you to your uncle's house, and y'all were up there with 20 people, and you remember going up and down in the attic and down, depending on how the house was shaking and stuff, right?
When the water would get rough on the bottom, they'd put us up, and then when the house started cracking, and it depends, what. But we stayed mostly halfway on the steps of it. So my aunt Annette and them, I could hear them. They were crying, and they were saying the road, and they had us, they were holding us so we wouldn't go from there.
Okay, and that step unit was on the front porch, right?
Yeah.
Did the front porch stay the entire time? Do you remember?
Yeah, the front porch was as far as I can remember. That porch was there. That's all, I can still see it, there.
Okay. And so y'all are going through this and everything. Do you remember anything else about the actual storm? As far as, any part of the house being lost or anything like that, or?
Uncle Vaillant had an old barn on the side.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think it might have tore it up a little bit, but it was still there, and the cow pen was still there.
All right.
As far as I can remember, I could see it. But when the storm hit in the morning, I remember the cars rolling, and my aunt told me, she said, Jeffrey, y'all was laughing, and y'all were having a ball, because them cars were rolling, but it wasn't funny.
But y'all, at your young age,
we was having a good time, when we seen that. So, and then they had a motor grade. Uncle Vaillant, he was the parish man back in them days, Okay. So, the motor grader, flipped over. I guess it washed out underneath of it. What is that? What they grade them shale roads with.
Got you. Okay.
They had all shale roads in them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's to make the road even or flat, right? It grades the levels.
No rough roads.
Yes, no dips or anything.
So
okay.
When when them cars and all that, I remember all that, and then I remember when the hurricane was over, Enos Richard from East Creole, he was married to my aunt Tutut. Her name was Tutut.
Yes.
And Tutut, them was all there. But when Enos and them come over yonder, they had a little boat. It was like one of them old putt boats, you know. It was them motors they got now got 3 or 4 cylinders. This thing just had 1 cylinder. I could still hear that thing popping. It was pow pow pow. So he come picked up Daddy, and I remember Ciproyan. Ciproyan had a store in East Creole.
Okay, what's his last name?
Terrio.
I've heard of the Terrio store. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Ciproyan. That was Playmate's daddy from Cameron. Playmate was from Cameron. Okay. So Daddy, he told Daddy, he said, Orrin, he said, let's go. They went back in that little boat after the storm. And they went over yonder and he gave Daddy the keys. He said, Orrin, he said, you're going to have to get in the water. So Daddy got in the water. He said, what you want me to do, Father? He said, get in there and open that trunk. He said, take that suitcase out of there. So Daddy got down there in the water there, he felt, and he opened it, and he caught that suitcase, and he put it up, they put it in the boat. Daddy said they liked it sunk, you know, it was a big suitcase.
Yes, big suitcase.
And then that boat didn't have much freeboard. Daddy said they would bail, and they was running, you know, and bailing.
Right.
And Enos, he would go with that thing, you know, and they went back over to the rig. Daddy said he opened that suitcase, he said it was full of money. And he said he poured that money down on the ground and they dried it, you know. And,
of course, yes.
He dried all the money. Then Daddy said after the hurricane, they brought it to Hackberry over here and put it in a bank.
In a bank, exactly.
Yeah. So
that's a wild story. My goodness, that is amazing. It was all underwater. It was. Yeah. Okay.
And then I remember this. I remember a helicopter come over under there to Uncle Bayan's and took us. We went to the Gipstown Bridge. It was a cable. It would pull across the bayou, the intercoast.
Like a ferry.
Yeah, like a ferry.
Yes. Okay.
And that thing. They used to have a store right there. The Gibbs used to have a store by the Gipstown Bridge. It was the Gibbs.
Yes.
And I remember we used to when we'd get up there and stop for the bridge. We'd always get out and go walk in the shells.
Yes.
And they had 1,000 Coke tops and beer tops and tabs, and they used to. Everything was on the ground, you know, back in them days.
Yeah.
So. I remember they took us on the other side, because I don't believe the bridge was there no more. I don't know. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know what happened to it, but I don't remember.
So the helicopter took you over the intercoastal.
Yeah, the helicopter lit, and then they took us to McNeese.
Absolutely. That's.
And I remember that we slept on some cots.
The whole arena. It's a rodeo arena. Yeah. And it was just filled with cots. And you see pictures of that whenever we evacuate now at the Civic Center and stuff. But that was the first time, I would imagine, you saw so many cots in one place. Yeah. And your first helicopter ride too, I'm sure, that you'd never been in a helicopter before.
When I was in the helicopter, I wanted to look over the edge like that. And all them old people was in there and everybody. They said, catch them. And I remember that, you know, they said, don't let them get to the side. Boy, and they catch me, boy, and they held me all the way. But I wanted to see the water, because you could see the water, you know. Right. And the helicopter is one of them big helicopters. Yeah. And then when it lit over under there by the bridge, over under there, then we got that, they come picked us up, and they brought us to McNeese.
Rodeo Arena.
Yeah. Okay. So when we got up there, we all slept in there. They fed us, and then we ended up staying at a house over yonder on the corner of Prion Lake Road and Ryan Street. They had a big old, looked like a 3-story house there.
Now, what corner was it? Have you been there lately? Is it where the bank is?
They got a bank there now.
It's the bank where the bank is. There was a 3-story house where you and your family, I guess, spent the aftermath of Audrey.
Yeah, Uncle Mayo and Aunt Dion, Uncle Toto and all them.
Did y'all know the people in the house? Did they know, or this was just?
I don't know if somebody let us stay there, or I imagine they probably let us stay there, or somebody knew somebody, back in them days.
Yeah.
And my uncle was blind, and then I mean, them rooms were all full in that house, and they had some good cooks.
That helps.
Everybody ate,
Nice.
And then after we left, I remember we were staying there. Then all of a sudden, Mom and them must have rented a house over under there by where Hobby Lobby used to be on
Prion Lake Road and Highway 14. Yes.
They had a bunch of houses along the interstate right there. A bunch of little houses.
Absolutely, yes.
Mom and them rented one of them little houses. And we stayed there until we went back to Creole.
And y'all rebuilt in Creole.
Yeah. Daddy had we had a 2-bedroom house. So Daddy, that we tore that house down, that little two house, and we built a 3-bedroom house.
Nice.
Because we had 4 of us staying in one room.
Right.
And Mom and Daddy was staying in the other room.
Exactly.
So we stayed in there, and I remember we used to try to help them pull the nails. Dad and them, they were knocking all them nails out of them boards.
Yes.
And when we built a new house, they had some blue boards up there. They had some green boards up there. They had some orange boards up there.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, that house.
That's some colorful wood.
It was kind of like Dolly Parton's.
Dollywood.
Yeah, Dolly.
I love it.
A coat of many colors.
Yeah.
That thing was all. I mean, and then Mama and them, they just. I guess they painted it. And then later on, Mom and them got some money, and they bricked the house, and everything there. And that brick house was for Rita,
Now, how did it do in Rita? Was it?
It was gone.
Okay. But it lasted from 58, 57 or 58 until 2005.
Yeah. Mama, she was a nurse.
Nice.
When the old doctor.
In Cameron Parish?
In Cameron Parish.
Nice.
She worked for Dr. Carter.
I've heard of Dr. Carter.
And she worked for Dr. Dix, both.
Dr. Dix?
Yeah, Dr. Dix.
D-I-X?
D-I-X.
Okay, yeah. All right, I haven't.
He was a veteran, but he came over under there, and old Dr. Carter's the one that born me. All right. In 1953.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And I remember Mama used to go see about him all the time.
Yeah.
She'd go up there to his room, and I remember when we'd go up there, we'd go with Mama,
Yes, I can imagine. Yeah.
And Mama took care of all the sick. I mean, anybody that was sick, she'd see about them,
That's a special calling, definitely.
We missed her out there.
I can imagine, yeah.
She took care of Uncle Toto, Irene, Elaine. She took care of all the old aunts and uncles, the cousins and all that.
She was more than a nurse.
Oh.
She was a nurse to everyone, and yes, that's wonderful. That's what a special lady.
And Dad and him, he worked for the poker plant. He was a superintendent for Louisiana Menhaden, yes. And he ended up going to work for the sheriff's department.
Okay.
So he retired with the sheriff's department.
Got you. All right.
Until his death.
So he had a pretty interesting jobs at the pokey plant and also at the sheriff's department. That's an interesting life, definitely. So good. What a story, Jeffrey. That's amazing, especially the story afterward of your dad going and finding that suitcase of money and going up and down the house shaking. And
you see, when we went back to Creole, I remember when Mama had some. Her pants rolled up there right here on her,
right.
And we was little, and she was trying to find out what she could find, for us to wear, and all that. Yeah. And she went up there to the house over under there, I remember, and the snakes on the mattresses, you know, in the house.
So the house that you lived in before Audrey, she went inside and there were snakes in there.
Yeah, there were snakes.
Inside, on the bed or inside the mattresses?
They were on the mattress. Yeah.
What did she do? Did she just leave or?
Well, I think she was trying to see if she could get us some clothes, you know, because Daddy said them snakes, when the salt water, they usually spit out all the venom because they all, you know, when they get mad, you know.
Right. Yes.
So Daddy said probably they wasn't, you know,
Probably wasn't poisonous.
Poisonous like there was, or maybe not poison.
But it still hurts when you get hit by by those fangs and stuff.
I don't like them things.
No.
So
Goodness.
after that, I remember, you know, we was crying, you know, and Mama was running, you know, and trying to get back there and everything. And my Aunt Faye, she was next door. She was worried about us. She was hollering at us, you know.
So this was right after.
Right after there.
When y'all were probably in the 3-story house in Lake Charles, y'all kept coming back.
We came back to Creek.
Yeah, and that's when she found. Oh, good. Well, but your house was there, right? It hadn't floated away, or
The trees held it. We used to have a big cornfield. We picked corn every year, but and then they had a cornfield behind the trees.
Okay.
But the trees stayed enough to hold the house.
Now, was it oak trees or locusts? Or?
It was some hackberry trees.
Hackberry, absolutely.
Yeah, hackberry trees.
Strong
and
trees.
We didn't like chicken trees too much. Yeah. And I know we used to cut them down, you know, when we see a chicken tree, you know. But and they had briar bushes and all that, you know. The rabbit. They had a lot of cane back there, you know. Duck cane, the duck blind, fix the blind. Yeah.
That's the best stuff for it. Yeah. Those duck blinds.
So
that's good. Well, one more question. After everything you went through for Audrey, and I know you were young, but was there anything that the biggest lesson, or did it help shape who you became, the man you became?
Oh yeah. I don't recommend nobody staying around in the path of a hurricane. Like we stayed over here, you know, and the tornadoes got us, you know. I would get my family. If you love your family, you know, I'd get out, you know. Yes. I mean, I wouldn't stay there. I'm not saying that just to say it, you know. I'm telling. I left, you know, because I don't want to be around here when something like that happens. It's too late. After you're sitting in that house and then somebody gets killed or something, they say, well, I should have left. Leave before, you know. Yes. That's what I would recommend.
That's wise information.
Yeah. God gives us brains. We got to use them brains, you know. So,
amen. That's very much. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Jeffrey, I'm really glad you invited me to talk to you. This was very enlightening. Is there anything else right now that you want to say about the Hurricane Audrey experience or your family or anything like that?
Well, I can say another thing. My Uncle Whitney Miller.
Is he a priest?
No,
okay.
That's Whitney. I know who you're talking about.
I'm talking about.
I go to the Acts retreat there in the Whitney.
Yes.
Father Whitney.
Father Whitney.
Yeah.
I know Father Whitney.
I love Father Whitney.
Excellent.
Whitney Miller, my uncle.
Okay.
And they was with my grandpa Choot.
Okay.
Papa Choot and Mama Choot. They was in a house over under in East Creole over under there. And when the storm hit, I wasn't there, but Uncle Whitney told me. He said he was nailing they had to cut a hole in the roof, you know, and they had to nail some 2x4s and all that, keep nailing because the house, you know, coming apart. You know.
So he was literally, while the storm was doing stuff at the house, he was hammering and nailing, trying to hold it together.
Yeah, he was.
Did he get to hold it together? Did it fall apart?
They held it together, and they all made it.
That is wonderful.
He was something else, Uncle Whitney. I mean, he's the one that just about raised me, you know, in my life, you know.
Yeah.
I learned.
He carried you too, right? Like Peggy and.
he could build anything. I mean, he'd build cattle trailers, and he was a welder. You know, he was an all-around person. And
well, I want to make sure people know about him, because he sounds like somebody that was that just vital and invaluable to.
He baled hay. I mean, I seen us pick up 1,500 bales at night. He said, too hot in the daytime.
I like that thinking. Yeah. That's good. He's using his head, you know, and
that's
wonderful.
He'd always, he kept me there, you know, and he trained me, you know, to work. You know, that's what he done. You know, but I learned all my skills from him, you know, and Daddy too, you know, and my grandpa, but I stayed there mostly.
It sounds like you had many role models and people that that really taught you how to be a self-made person and to not have to depend on others. You can take care of things yourself.
We were self-dependent, you know. I mean, my wife too, Brenda. You know, our family, you know, we was taught to survive. You know. Yes. I know Johnny Moe from Grand Chenier. He ended up at my grandma's house over under there in East Creole, where we all lived.
Or Audrey.
Yeah, and her house stayed, and I heard that. You know, I don't know it, but the dad and them said that my.
So Johnny Moe was there at your grandma's?
In Creole.
In Creole, okay. Yeah. Did they make it?
They come across the marsh, you know.
That's the one that moved across the marsh and they got stuck at the trees.
Yeah,
and
he went across the marsh, I guess, over under there, and he ended up at my grandma Ferdinand's house over under. That's about all I know, and you know, about Audrey, you know. I mean.
Well, thank you very much for this, and to be continued. We'll have a part 2. Hopefully on Hurricane Rita and so on. But thank you for your.
I'm glad to you know, to say what I know, you know, what I've done.
Well, that's what we want. We want, you know, to document what happens so that for generations to come, you know, your descendants will all be knowing what happened to you, and so that's the idea. So, but thank you, Jeffrey, very much, and. To be continued.
Okay.
Thank you.